Hey guys, this is OddOneGaming. This is going to be another Godforge video. In today's video, I want to do kind of like an ultimate beginner's guide for the sake of alpha, where I'm gonna pretty much tell you everything that I've learned for the gameplay, for having as much fun as possible in Alpha Wave 1 that maybe you should be aware in Alpha Wave 2. Now, I'm not sure what is going to be changed completely for this. We're going to see once it goes live, but like I said, I'm going to try and give you all the tips, all the things that I've seen that could be helpful for you to try and be aware and come into this alpha with as much knowledge as possible. So let's get into it. So yeah, there might be quite a few things that you need to understand. First of all, it's obviously going to be to pick your starter. I guess depending on when this video goes live, I think I should have a video on that the day before, right? But definitely go check that one out, because you have three choices. You have Ramses, you have Guan Yu, and then you also have Lady Jacques. So you should be picking one of those three. Then once you start playing, going into the game, one of the first things that you're going to be having to do is go ahead and come onto the tower. You start over here in the Caverns of Chaos. This is the only thing in the game, right? Just to be clear. So you're going to be starting in stage 1, but I guess let me show you something. Again, this is subject to change because they might be adding more stuff or not, but the only things that are going to be available are going to be Wayland Smithy, Anvil of Creation, the Caverns, and then the hero. So I'm going to try and go over all of that, gearing and everything in this video. But if we start with the Caverns, you're going to pretty much start over here. First thing you're going to do, you're not going to have many heroes. It's just going to be your starter, and you're going to be doing that. Now, while you progress through the stages, you're going to be seeing that you can achieve 1 star or 2 stars. Usually 1 star is just defeating the stage. 2 star is usually going to have some sort of a requirement, like for example stage 1, defeat the stage with 1 ally alive, which you should be pretty easily doing this, because you know it would be sad if you go in first thing and then you lose, right? That's not gonna happen. But once you're gonna be going on to higher stages, for example, let me see this one, stage 21, that I didn't do. If you go over here and look, there's gonna be some different requirements that might not be as easy to achieve. This one says defeat the stage with at least 2 wisdom heroes. So for that you can you need to bring 2 wisdom heroes in order to beat it. Now, how can you tell who is wisdom? Well, you just long click on the one on the left and you're going to see the blue one is going to be wisdom. So for example, I can use Quetzalcoatl, then I can check and I can see, okay, Isolde's cunning. Let's see, you can even go and go by affinity, right? So you go by affinity, you see, okay, you start with Eternal, then you move down, you're gonna get yourself all of the blue ones, right, which are going to be wisdom, and then you can pick and be like, okay, let me just put 2 of these. Why did I click that? But you can go and just straight up put over here based on these filters what you need. Now, not all of the filters are gonna be working, so something like this one's not gonna be working. This one could be really helpful and definitely worth keeping an eye, but that's pretty standard, right? So what you need to do is for 1 star, just be that, 2 stars, follow these conditions. Now, since we're talking about the Caverns and the stages, there's some important things to keep in mind about these stages. So if you look at, for example, let's go a little bit on the higher stages, but each stage is designated to something. So let's start with a stage 1. You can click over here, reward preview, and it tells you what this one drops. It drops spirits, heroes, and then armor. So stage 1s are always gonna drop helmets. Now, I do know that they said they're gonna maybe change this a little bit to drop more pieces or different ones, but as it is right now in Alpha 1, stage, like I said, stage 1 drops helmets, stage 2 is gonna drop the chest, stage 3 will drop the pauldrons, stage 4 will drop gauntlets, stage 5 is not gonna be dropping gear, stage 5 is gonna be different. This is where you're gonna be getting alchemy stones, more hero spirits, which are the ones used to rank up your heroes, and then stages with ending with 5 as well will drop heroes, and they have a high chance of dropping legendaries. Stages ending with 6 will drop the leggings, right, the legs. Stage 7 drop the boots. Stage 8 will be the ones where you can get weapons. Everything with stage 8 will give you weapons. And then stage 9 is going to be the ones that's going to give you the God Steel, which is the material used to level up your weapons, right, and rank them up. So definitely keep that in mind. And then stage 60 is gonna be also the stage where you can farm most of the heroes. So stage 60 is kind of like the most balanced one when it comes to the XP drop. the gold drop, and also the hero drop, right? So most of the time you would go to 60 for the highest drop rate of gold. Specifically, if you can go to, like, you know, stages ending with 0, but specifically if you can get on the golem stages, because this one's going to be giving a ton more gold. At the same time, stages ending with 9 are the ones that give a lot more XP, right? Something that might not be as obvious. Everything, like I said, every single reward you can see over here that it mentions that it can drop, but also, like I mentioned, you gotta keep in mind the fact that, you know, stages ending with 9 give you a lot more of the XP. Also, stages with this one, let me see, 60, 70. I know some of these stages also drop the scrolls to level up your, what's it called? Let's see, heroes, armor. Some of them drop everything, right? So just check this, right? Just go to reward preview, check it, and it should be pretty, you know, pretty standard, pretty obvious for you to understand. Now, since we are still in the Caverns, let's talk a little bit about the battle system before we jump into the next one. But if you go into battle, this is pretty, you know, obvious or standard for most games. The first slot is going to be the leader slot that is going to be used by people that have this extra icon on the top left side. This is going to mean they bring an aura. For example, Quetzalcoatl brings speed in all battles by 21%. If you look at Heimdall, 30% defense in all battles. If you look at Zeus, 30% attack. Ramses, you kind of get the gist. So you definitely want to get, you know, you want to get somebody with a lead in there, and then you just put everybody else. I'm not going to go too much into detail of this. I do have a video that goes over all the battle basic mechanics, right? All the mechanics of how the gameplay works, how the battles work and whatnot. So just want to do a quick preview. So first of all, aura, definitely keep in mind, if you want to auto farm, click on this one. It's just going to keep farming the same thing over and over again. Now, if you jump into a fight, one thing that's really important to keep in mind is you can do your abilities, right? They start off by doing their cores always and whatnot. But one really, really important thing to know is that once somebody has an ultimate ready, you can use it, but it does not have to be that person's turn, right? That's something really amazing. That's something really cool. Let me see if I can show you to the next wave. Let me move myself to this side. Okay, let's get to wave 2. So let's see. Do we have Ramses' ultimate ready? Not quite there yet. Let me just try and get to it so I can show you. Hopefully he doesn't get the ultimate ready when it's exactly his turn. Okay, he didn't, right? So let's say he didn't get the ultimate yet. You can see over here, you can long click to see what the ultimate does. And then at the same time, it shows you how you can gain more divinity, which influences the ultimate, right? But let's say, let's do a one hit over here. And then you see he has the ultimate. Even though it's not his turn, which again, you can check over here on the left side whose turn when they come next. Even though it's Pangu's turn, I can click Ramses' ultimate and then I can select them. Or you can just go and, you know, double click. For example, if you want to cancel, if you click like this, you're like, oh, I don't want to use it. Just click over here on different skill, which is behind me. Why am I hiding it? You kind of get the gist, right? So let's say click the ultimate and then you're like, oh, wait, I don't want to do it. If you click on somebody else, doesn't work. Click on the skill, it does. But you can double click and then see, even though it wasn't Ramses' turn, he uses his ultimate. Then you can go ahead and continue with everybody else's turns. Now, obviously, if this is on auto, keep in mind the turn order is going to matter. But like I said, I'm not going to go too in depth with this. I have a video specifically talking about this, so make sure you go check that one out. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much. Oh, yeah, you can change the cameras over here if you want. So this one's the one, I guess, more for farming. This one's the one that has more of the, what's it called, more of the animation stuff. The default one shows a little bit more of how all the animations work. This one's kind of like, you know, towards the side a little bit more, you know, slightly moving and stuff. You can go 1 time speed or 2 times speed, and obviously this button is auto. If you want to just have scening stuff, right, and you just don't want to, you want to eliminate everything else, you can keep this one. These 2 buttons don't work yet. Maybe they're going to add them, but you can just click this and voila. You just have the scenic view. You don't have anything else, and then you can just enjoy the fights. Now let's look at another area of the game. Let's go into Wayland Smithy. So this one, after you start getting weapons, this is where you can go and refine or imprint your weapons. Pretty much refining means you go for a weapon and then you rank it up. It might not be as obvious, but they might fix this. The way that you would rank this up is you pull the slider, right? Just pull the slider and you level it up. I know that for gearing is a bit quirky because it starts at level 0. This says you can now refine, so it might not be as obvious. Just make sure you look for this one, right? Look for the slider, pull this up, down, and it should pretty much, you know, be easy to allow you to do that. Let's do this, for example, as a testing. Yep, level it up. Then once you hit that max level, you can click and use a dupe of it if you have it. Funny enough, I used the wrong one because I don't have it. But if you have another one, you would click over here, select it, and then you would rank it up, and you keep getting more stats, and also the effect of it gets increased. Now, when it comes to imprinting, you're gonna go to imprint and you can choose one of the imprints, which we're gonna see how that one works, to add to the weapon. What this one's gonna do is gonna pretty much give the hero that wears the weapon a second passive, or a first passive if they're not rare or higher. So that's how you do it. The imprints are pretty much the passives from another hero that are gonna be like half of the effect of what the hero's passive can be, and there are gonna be some pretty powerful ones. I'm not gonna go too much into them now, but I just wanted to like let you know that. Now let's go over to the Anvil of Creation. This is where you see your imprints library, right? Everything you have. This is where you can go and extract. So for example, one of the really good ones, one of the ones that I like a lot is going to be Bauk. You can click over here and this one's going to give you an imprint of him that says that has a 25% chance to counterattack when this hero receives a debuff or dispel. You'd click extract. There we go. Now if you go to the library, you're going to see you can have Bauk's imprint, and then you can go ahead and use this one in the Wasteland Smithy. Let's go to like any random weapon, click on the imprint, and then go to Bauk, and then boom, there we go. Job done. I have that imprint on the weapon. So now, for example, if you go to your heroes page, let's say go to let me see, maybe I have somebody that has no weapon on, so somebody like a Loki, because I didn't build yet. You go to the gear. It's gonna be this one over here. I'm gonna go through the gearing as well, but you go over here and then you see this one that is has Fan Axe of Bauk, right? You equip this. So first of all, before we do that, let's look. See, passive abilities, he only has this one. I'm gonna talk about how to unlock it, but you go to gear, put the weapon in there, equip, and now if you go and look at his abilities again, you're gonna see he has a second passive, right? And this one does not require you to ascend the hero to level 3 to unlock the passive. So the way to unlock your main passive, this one over here, there's no tooltip, but in order to unlock the passive, you need to ascend your hero to rank 3, right? And keep in mind, only rares or above will have passives. If you look, for example, at an uncommon, like we have over here a Spartan, if you go to his abilities, you're gonna see he has no passives. However, if we go and just steal Loki's weapon, equip it, and we go over to abilities, you see he gets a passive now just from those imprints. So this is one of the best systems that I've seen, that it does that's really cool, because it opens up the possibility for several things to be tested. Now let's look over a little bit about the info page, right? So when you go to the info page, it tells you the rarity, name, and everything. It tells you their affinity, it tells you their their archetype, and it also tells you if they're chaos or order. And then we have the flag in the back that tells us the faction. So this one is the Olympus. Now I'm not sure, they might be adding this for the stage for the Alpha Wave 2, where we can see it over here. But if not, you just need to look at the background, and then if you go on their official Discord, there should be a post with every single one that you need to know. You can see all the stats over here. If you want to look at the stats more in detail, you can always just click on each of them, right? Shows you what HP does, shows you what speed does, and everything, right? Definitely worth keeping in mind. When we look at the abilities, for example, actually no, let's just take at the info. Once you get to the info tab, you have the upgrade. You click the upgrade. Over here, you can upgrade levels and promote, ascend, and then you can also upgrade the abilities. Now, the way to upgrade levels is obviously you're gonna need XP, and then you can choose to just drag the sliders depending on the levels that you want. But if you want to get them to 2-star and make it easier, just click on the star, right? Just click on the star, gets you there. If you click the autofill, it's gonna use the resources that you have. Click on 3-star, uses the resources I have. 4-star, you kind of get the gist. It pretty much does it automatically. Then you click promote and it's done. Now, if you get to the stage where you have so many of the rares, you can go over here to the settings and you can click this one. So it's gonna start using rares as well. Now, it's not working ideally over here, right? Doesn't recognize rares, for example, for, let me just click this one and let's clear it. Okay, let's go to stage 4. So for example, to get into rank 4, normally the autofill, if you don't have spirits, should be taking rares. So even though it says the rares are 1-stars, they're going to be counting as a 3-star. It's just, quality of life stuff they introduced for alpha, so it's easier to level up. Same thing if I go to 5-star, I can go ahead and use an epic, for example, and then count as a 4-star, even though he's just a 1-star. So I hope this one makes sense. Then if you go to Ascension, for the Ascension, it's pretty straightforward, and maybe it's not as obvious, but in order to ascend your hero to higher ascensions, you need to first be that star level. So for example, right now, my Spartan is only level 1, so he's 1-star. That's why I can only ascend him to 1-star. But if I get him, for example, to 2-star, right, let's just do that, promote it, and then I go get to ascend, you can see I can click on the 2-star or okay, over here the click doesn't work, so over here put the slider 2-star. It allows me to send him to 2 stars. So definitely keep that in mind. When it comes to abilities, pretty straightforward. If you have the resource, just go ahead and just pull the slider and it levels up. It goes at random, right? Like, let's test out. Let's click it over here and let's rank up only 1. Nope, it goes at random, right? So keep that in mind. You cannot select which one you go for. It just goes completely at random. Now let's go over and look at the gearing stuff. So for gearing, you're obviously going to go over here and you're going to see, depending on the sets that you want, what you can choose, what you can get and whatnot. But, you know, I'm not going to go too in detail with this, but there's several sets in here. There's like the lower level ones which just give you basic attack, basic HP, defense, crit rate, whatever. But the higher you get, the better sets unlock. Now, something that might not be as obvious is, let's try and look at one of the higher sets. If you see that you have a set like this, that you have this arrow, this means that that set has several effects if you have more pieces. So for example, the Kraken set, if you have 2 pieces, HP increases by 1% for each turn, maximum to 50%. But then if you click the little arrow, it says goes to 25%. If you have 4 pieces, and then if you click it again, 6 pieces, reduces damage from attacks by 15%. So this is something that you definitely want to keep in mind and be aware of. And then we go at the weapons. Over here, you can go ahead and just click whichever weapon that you want to use. Now, I do want to mention this, so you keep it in mind. I'm not sure if they're going to fix it for Alpha Wave 2 or not, but if you choose to equip a weapon, let's show you, I guess, a simple example. Let's go again on somebody. Let's go on Mordred. You can see he only has his passive. Let's go and put a weapon on him, like, for example, this one, because I have a ton of. Let's equip it. But then if I go over here now and I put an imprint, let's say go and use imprint. There we go. Now this one should pop up as another passive for Mordred because he has an imprinted weapon. Well, it does not. There's like a slight bug right now that if you imprint after you equip the weapon, it does not appear. So now let's remove it and let's equip it again. And then if you go to abilities, why does it not appear? Or this one, let's see. Maybe this bug happens to like all the weapons, but normally this should appear as another passive for Mordred. Let's see again. Okay, let's try this. Let's put that weapon again. Let's see. It might be again. See, this is something to definitely be aware of. Equip. Let's see. Does it appear now? No, it doesn't. So definitely keep in mind because you want to make sure you imprint the weapon before you do it, because otherwise you're going to be losing on that extra passive. Now, if we look at the awakenings are pretty straightforward. If you get dupe copies of the character, so for example, let's say I got a dupe of Mordred, you can click over here, select one, and put it, and it's going to give you the extra effect. You awaken it, boom, you also get that extra effect. You can check what each one of these actually do. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to introduce the currency. There's going to be a universal currency for that. You're going to be able to use those as well. Again, I'm not sure if they're going to introduce or not, but that's something to keep an eye out on. Now, another cool tip, I guess, for leveling up heroes, because it might be a bit quirky. Again, it's alpha. There's lots of quality of life that they're going to be introducing later. But let's say you want to start leveling up and you don't have enough of the lower level resources and you want to go and level up some fodder, right? Some low level to get them to higher stats. So for example, let's say I want to level up a common, and then I can do this, right? Level up the common, go to 2-star, do it and promote. And then this one, because I have it like this, it does not going to appear at the top. If you do it this way, right? Let's say go like this, and I go to an uncommon, I upgrade the knight, and I let's say get him to 2-star, autofill, promote. When we close it, it goes all the way to the top. That's a good tip that Susie gave me, right? Shout out to Susie, the community manager. But if you use these arrows, it's always going to be easier to level up low level stuff. You just go like this, boom, perfect, and there we go. It stays at the bottom, so you can keep pushing this low level to be higher level stuff. Now, I'm not sure if there's anything else that I missed, but I think this is going to be, this is pretty straightforward. This is, pretty simple. I just want to give like a little bit of a guide of stuff. Oh yeah, let me show you another thing that, again, might not be as obvious for, like I mentioned, the gearing when you try and level up stuff. So we go to equipment. Let's go over here and let's go to this piece of gear. If you click enhance, you see it appears like this. This is something I've seen quite a few people get stuck on. You can just pull the slider. That's how you level up. It starts off with 0. I did hear Simon say that he might do it like this, where it starts with level 1, right? If they do that, then this might not be relevant. However, if they don't, definitely keep in mind, right? If it's a base level appears with 0, just pull the slider and don't level up everything to 16. It's really scarce at the beginning, costs a lot of gold. Start to 8 or to 12, and that's gonna be, just good enough. And then at the same time, if there's pieces of gear that you see that you don't really like, you can just go and be like, oh, I don't like this, is a 2-star. This button over here sells the piece of gear, right? You go like that, sell, and there we go. You can also lock the piece of gear, and this one's not a button that work. This is part of attunement, another system they're going to introduce in game later on, so this is going to be maybe in beta or global. Now, do keep in mind, again, like I said, you're not going to have filters. They didn't have the time to introduce the filters. That's a bit more complex. It is alpha, so if you're going to see that this is not here, that's the reality of it, and that's why. The way they usually go, I just go by like rank and try and use the higher rank ones. But I think this is it. I hope I didn't miss anything. If there's going to be anything that I missed, keep an eye out on my channel. I'm trying to post daily. I'm trying to do as much updates on the game as possible. I'm streaming, so yeah, definitely subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Godforge content. Like this video so it helps to spread it out to more people so they come into this alpha wave 2 with as much knowledge as possible. And I guess we're going to see you on the next one. Peace, love, take care, everyone. Bye, guys.